Hi everyone, I'm Olivia, and today I'm going to be talking to you about sport coming to an end and the emotions that come with it, and how to work on overcoming those emotions. Um, Sport coming to an end can happen for a variety of reasons, such as graduation, transferring, withdrawing from school. It could be from a career ending injury or just a personal decision to no longer continue with the sport. And with that can come grief, and grief can present itself in a lot of different ways. Um, so some of these could include being sad that it's over, relieved that you have more time to relax, angry for why it may have ended, and being scared for what that means for you in the future. Um, all of these emotions are okay. That's how grief works. Everybody feels different emotions at different times. One minute you could be relieved, and then the next minute you could be upset. And they can come in different intensities too. Um, so it is very common for college athletes to struggle with retiring from their sport. Um, because a lot of times it can be from graduating and they just will no longer be competing with their sport. So it's just hard for them to adapt to that change because they've been playing their sport for so long and they just don't know what they're going to do without having their set practice times, having their competition. So it's just really hard for them to move on past that long stage of their life that they spent being an athlete. Um, what makes it so hard for um, athletes that no longer play their sport is they lose their sense of athletic identity. And oftentimes, if you give college students a piece of paper and you ask them to write down who they are, most of the time, the athletes will say they are an athlete. And if you were to ask a former athlete to write down who they are, they would probably struggle with finding something to write, knowing that they are no longer an athlete. Um, so less than 2% of college athletes go on to play professional. So what that means for those that don't go on to play professionally, their athletic career does come to an end sooner than later. Um, so after graduation, typically athletes have to learn how to transition from training for their sport to just exercising. Because with training, you are getting stronger and faster in preparation for your team to win. But with exercising, it's more about improving your health and your general well being and not so much for winning purposes. So, um, it is difficult for athletes to make that transition because they're used to focusing on training to win. So, um, and because of that, former athletes are more prone to weight gain and depression. And one of the simplest solutions for former athletes is to join a recreational sports league. Um, and they can experiment with a bunch of different sports. They can participate in the sport that they've been playing. They can branch out and join leagues for other sports. So it gives them more of a range for them to try different sports that they haven't done before. And um, so some of the things to do about overcoming the grief and the difficulty that comes with no longer being an athlete is finding new activities that you can plan on fitting into your schedule, such as joining recreational leagues or just finding other hobbies that you can do to take up your time. Um, if needed, try distancing yourself from the sport for some time. If you don't feel like you need to distance yourself, then you don't have to. But if you are struggling and you may think a solution could be to take some time away from maybe going to sporting events or following professional sports for that sport, maybe consider doing that. But just because you are doing that doesn't mean that you have to like no longer be involved in the sport, because you can just temporarily distance yourself. And then you want to seek out supporters that are involved with sport and outside of sport. So it would be good to find others who have also dealt with retiring from the sport that you also played, and talk to them about how they overcame it. But you also want to be able to have supporters that aren't involved in sport, just so that they can support you with your retirement from like an outside perspective. And it's important to remind yourself that being an athlete is not your whole identity. It is just a piece of your identity, but it's very hard for former athletes to adjust to that mindset, just because they have spent so much of their life basing their identity off of being an athlete. But there will come a time when we need to realize that being an athlete is not your whole identity, and you have different components that make up your identity. So that is all I have for you today. If you may be struggling with maybe graduation coming up and you're already experiencing difficulty with knowing your sport is coming to an end and you want somebody to talk to, Counseling Services is available to talk to you. It is free and confidential for all students. You can call, email, or stop in to make an appointment. We have information on Instagram and Facebook, and there's also information on contact numbers and emails and where our office is located. We are in the first floor of Almer. And like I said, the phone numbers and emails, those are listed on D2L. So if you are interested in Counseling Services, we are always here to help you. Thank you guys for watching and have a great day.